Hi everybody, welcome back on Lit Up with Annie. In this session, we are going to discuss the General Prologue or the Prologue to Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer in detail. As you all know that it is a very big, somewhere around 858 lines we have in the General Prologue. Therefore, I will be dividing the General Prologue into various sessions. This is going to be the first session in the various sessions that are to come for the General Prologue. Now, I would like you to watch all of the sessions that we have of the General Prologue from the beginning till the end. It is going to give you a thorough knowledge of the General Prologue, line by line, and I'm sure that you're not going to miss anything. Many times we've had questions from the General Prologue in the exam also. You can make your small notes while talking about different pilgrims that Chaucer does. So you can make your small notes with it so that you remember, you can revise it later on also. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do that. And if you like the video, please hit the like button. Let's begin quickly now. This is the first stanza. It's big, it's 19 lines and very important because the narrator has described the month of April in a very beautiful manner. It says, when April with his shows sowed, the drought of March hath pursed to the road and bathed every vein in which liquor of which were to engender is the flower. Now it starts by saying that when, जब ऐसा होता है, when April comes with its showers, sweet showers, it comes when it pierces the drought of March. After March it comes. So it pierces through the drought of March and April comes with its sweet showers and bathed every vein in which liquor. And every vein of the plant is drooped in such a liquid that it gives power, such kind of a power that a flower is created out of it. It's a beautiful description. It says, when Zephyrus eke with its sweet breath, inspired hath in every hold and heath the tender crops, and the young sun hath in the ramp his half course run. He talks about Zephyr. Zephyr is the god of west wind. When west wind comes, it also brings with it that sweet breath which inspires every field and every wood, and it gives life, it breathes life into the tender crops. And the young sun hath in his ram his half course he run. And when the sun has also run its half course, it has crossed Aries, the zodiac sign. And small fowls make melody that sleepen at night with open eye, so pricketh him nature in her courages. It talks about small fowls. Fowls is a bird. You can say a chicken also. It makes melody and it sleeps at night with open eye. So nature incites them in their hearts. Then longen folk to go on pilgrimages. Then, look at this. It starts with when, and then here it changes then. So when all of this happens, then what happens? Then the people, they wish to go on pilgrimages. And palmers to seek in stranders to fern hofs cood in sundry lawns. So it says that the professional pilgrims, they seek foreign shores to distant shrines. Basically, in the month of April, everybody wants to go. The weather is so nice, everybody wants to go on pilgrimages. So wherever to distant lands, wherever there are good pilgrimages, there are different shrines, people go there. Then it says, and specially from every shire's end of England to Canterbury they went. Especially if we talk about England, every shire's end of England, people want to go to Canterbury, where the people in the General Prologue are going. They're going to Canterbury. they travel, the holy, blissful martyr for to say. Where are they going? They want to go and take the blessing of the martyr. Who? Thomas a Becket. That him had helpen when they were sick. That martyr who helped them when they were in need, when they were sick. That is the first stanza. It talks about April. It talks about the beautiful flowers that come in the month of April. It talks about Zephyrus, the west wind, how it fills life in the tender crops. It inspires every wood, every field. And when the sun has also crossed half its course, and the bird makes melody, that is the time when people want to go on pilgrimages. Especially from England to Canterbury, they want to go and seek the blessing of the martyr. Now, the narrator, or Chaucer, I would say, starts speaking about himself. He says, "Befell that in that season on a day, in Southwark at the Tabard, as I lay, ready to wenden on my pilgrimage to Canterbury with full devout courage." Now, on one day at like that, in the month of April, I went to Southwark and I stayed at Tabard Inn. I was ready to take my pilgrimage. I was ready to travel on my pilgrimage to Canterbury with full devout courage. I had that full bhakti hoti hai na, devout, with full devout courage. I was going to travel to Canterbury. At night was come into that hostelaire, well 29 in a company. When I reached there, at night, 29 more people came, 29 more pilgrims came, and they were also ready to go to that pilgrim. Of sundry folk by adventure fall, in fellowship and pilgrims were they all. He's talking about the different people, the pilgrims. He says that they were different people. They came from different backgrounds. And they were all ready to take the pilgrim. That toward Canterbury, Wolden Ride. They were all ready to travel towards Canterbury. The chambers in the stables were wide, and well we were eased at best. He talks about, when he says hostelier, he talks about the hotel, that inn that they were staying in. He says that all the chambers, all the stables that were given to us, they were all very, very wide, spacious. They all had horses, of course. And well, we were eased at best. And we were all very accommodated at the best. And shortly when the sun was to rest, so had I spoken with them everyone. So the sun was to rest. It means when the sun was set at night, shortly after that, I spoke to every one of them that I was of a fellowship anon, and made forward early for to rise, to take our way there, as I know, as I you devise. So finally I went and talked to everybody, he says, and I made friends. Fellowship, that I was of her fellowship anon. I quickly got to know them straight away, and we made plans to rise early in the morning so that we could follow our plans. We could travel, start our pilgrimage. But nonetheless, while I have time and space, ere that I further in this tale pace, methinketh it accountant to reason to tell you all the conditions of each of them, so as it seemed me, and which they were in, and of what degree. Now he says, but while right now I have time and I have space, and before I move on further in my tale, I think that it is good to tell you about the conditions of every one of them. So it seemed to me. Matlab, Chaucer basically talked to them and observed them, and now he wants to tell us about each of them. Jaisa unko laga, he guesses how they were, what was their degree, what were their ranks, from where they did come, and what kind of clothes they were wearing. And at a night, then will I first begin. So I will begin talking about the night first. All the pilgrims moving, marching, and the knight. He's going to start talking about the knight. A knight there was, and that a worthy man, that fro the time that he first began to ridden out, he loved chivalry, truth and honor, freedom and courtesy. Genuinely he praises the knight, and he says that he was a very worthy man, and from the time that he first began to ride, he loved chivalry. Even from the beginning that he became a knight, he started riding, he loved chivalry, he loved truth, honor. It was all in him, freedom and courtesy. Full worthy was he in his lord's word. Whatever his lords would, tell him to do, he would always be very, very worthy. He would always listen to his lords. And thereto had he ridden no man far, as well in Christendom as in heathenness. And the way he rode everywhere, so much, no man has done that, of his rank, of course, in the Christian areas, in the heathens area, and ever honored for his worthiness. And he has always been honored for his worthiness. After this, Chaucer gives us a list of places that he has been, and he has won different battles. For example, he says at Alexander he was when it was won. So he was there at Alexandria when it was won. Then he starts talking about oftentimes he had the board begone above all nations in Prussia. So he says that he had sat very many times in the place of honor above all the knights when he was even in all the nations in Prussia. So Alexandria, then Prussia. Then he says in Leto had he raised, and in Rus. So in Lithuania and in Russia, all of these places he had also been there, and he had campaigned in these places. No Christian man of his rank has done that. No Christian man so often of his degree. In Granada basically, at the siege, eke had he be of Algeris and ridden in Belmar. So he says that even he was there in Granada at the time there was a siege of Algeciras, and he had also ridden in Morocco. At Lays was he, and at Satili when they were won, and in Great Sea. All of these, he's just talking about the different places. Very difficult to pronounce the way they have been written. I have written them down. So he says he was there at Ayash and at Atalia. He was also there in the sea, Mediterranean Sea, when they were all won. He had been at many noble expeditions, at many a noble arm had he been. Many noble expeditions when important historical events took place, this knight was there. At mortal battles had he been 15 times he has been in these mortal battles, and he has fought for our faith at Tlemcen also. I'm not reading out these, I'm just telling you what it means. Then it says thrice he had been in a duel, and every time he has slain his enemy, every time he has slain his foe. And such is the worthy knight. At one time he had also been with the Lord of Balit against another heathen in Turkey. And evermore he had an outstanding reputation. And although he was brave, though he was worthy, but he was also very prudent. He was wise. And of his sport, as meek as is a maid. If we talk about his sport, he was very meek, as is a maid. He never yet no villainy ni said. He has never said anything rude, anything bad, anything villainous to anyone. All his life unto no manner wide. Whatever kind of a man is in front of him, he has never said anything rude. He was a very perfect gentle knight. He was a perfect gentle knight. Very good, truly perfect gentle knight. Now this was all about the characteristics of the knight, the places that he had been, he has fought. Now he talks to us about the kind of clothes that he is wearing. उन्होंने बोला ना कि मैं आपको बताऊंगा क्या डिग्री है लोगों की और किस तरह से वो लोग ड्रेस्ड हैं. So for to tell you of his array, his horse were good, but he was not gay. Horses तो बहुत अच्छे से dressed हैं, but knight not very happily dressed. Of fustian he wore a gaipon. So the tunic that he wore was of a very coarse cloth, and besmottered with his habergeon. So it was smottered, it was stained with a kind of a rust. आपने वो देखा है एक आर्मर होता है ना जाली जाली वाला, तो उसकी बात हो रही है. That because he wore that armor early on, because of that his clothes have been stained with rust. For he was late he come from his voyage. जैसा लगता है that just from an expedition he has come and went for to do his pilgrimage. Right from the expedition he has come now and he's going for a pilgrimage. This is about the knight that he talks. Let's look at the key points of the knight. He is noble, he is chivalrous, he is victorious. Chaucer has genuinely praised the knight. Further on, we'll see that he has also satirically sometimes said different things about different pilgrims, but he has genuinely praised the knight. The knight has traveled through Christian and heathen territories: Alexandria, Prussia, Russia, Lithuania, Grenada, Morocco, Turkey, Great Sea, and everything. He wears modest clothes which are stained with the mail, that armor is stained with dust. So this is mainly that he talks about the knight. Moving on, he talks about the squire. With him there was his son, a young squire, a lover and a lusty bachelor. He says, knight के साथ उसका बेटा था. There was his son. He was a young squire. He was a lover and a very, very lively kind of a bachelor. With locks curls as they were laid in press. उसके जो hair थे, they were so curly. It's not very visible, but still a little bit. Look at the curls. So it says that they were so curly as if they have been pressed or they have been curled with a proper curler, giving heat. Of 20 years of age he was, I guess. Of his stature he was of even length and wonderly delivered and of great strength. Now the narrator Chaucer guesses that I think somewhere around 20 years of age he was. He was of moderate length and wonderful deliverance, wonderful body of great strength. And he had been some time in the Shivaji. So sometimes he had been in one or two fights, maybe not very much, but he's just 20 years of age. So cavalry mein kabhi cavalry, he had sometimes been in the cavalry, where in Flanders, in Artois and in Picardy. These are the places that he had been on these expeditions. And borne him wheel as of so little space in hope to stranden in his lady grace. Whatever little time and space he had, he's just 20 again. So he has tried to impress his lady's grace. He has tried to gain that grace. He wants to be in the good books of his lady's grace. Embroidered was he as it were a mead. The kind of clothes that he's wearing now, he looks like a flower. He's embroidered like a flower, full of fresh flowers, white and red. Singing he was or fluting all day. या तो वो गाना गा रहे हैं या वो कभी फ्लूट बजा रहे हैं. He was as fresh as the month of May. This has been a question. Who has been called as fresh as the month of May? The squire. He's very lively in everything. Short was his gown with sleeves long and wide. Well knew he sit on horse and fair ride. So the gown that he was wearing was short in length, but the sleeves were long and wo khuli sleeves hote na wide like that. And he knew very well how to sit on horse. Very elegantly he rode. He knew songs make and well endite. He also knew how to make songs, how to compose songs. Jost and eke dance and wheel, pertire and write. He also knew how to dance, jost, how to write, how to basically do so many things. He is all in one. So he knew all of these things. He also knew how to draw. Draw word in yaar. So jost, dance, draw and write. So Hoot he loved that by nighter tale he sleep no more than doth a nightingale. He loved so passionately that रात को उसको ज़्यादा नींद नहीं आती है. Just like a nightingale. That's it. That much amount of sleep he takes. Courteous, he was lovely and serviceable. He was very courteous, he was very lovely and always ready to give his service. And carved before his father at the table. He's carved before his father at the table. Very elegantly. This was the Squire. Key points. Son of the night, he has curly hair, 20 years old, moderate height. He had been for a time on a cavalry expedition where? In Flanders, in Artois and in Picardy. The kind of clothes, his tunic is embroidered with flowers. He keeps singing or he keeps playing the flute. He can also joust, dance, draw and write well. He's very courteous, humble and he's very modest. Next is the yeoman. Looks like a little boy, no? A yeoman had he and servant no more at the time for him list right. So the knight had with him a yeoman and there were no other servants with him. And that at that time, that is the time when, at that time, that is how he wanted to write. For him list right. So, for it pleased him to travel like that. And he was clad in coat and hood of green, a sheaf of peacock arrows bright and keen. Now the kind of clothes that he was wearing is, he was wearing a coat and he was wearing a hood which was of green color. Everything now you'll see green, green, green. Peacock feathers, or he had the arrows that he had those peacock feathers. They were bright and very keen. And where were they placed? Under his belt, he bar full thriftily. Very nicely, he had put them under the belt. Well knew he dress his tackle yeomanly. He knew how to take care of his equipment just like a yeoman should. His arrows drooped not with feathers low. So they did not fall short, the arrows, because feathers were drooping out. And in his hand he bar a mighty bow. Ab arrows to ho gaye, haath mein bow bhi hai. He had a bow in his hand. Not heed had he with a brown visage. The head that he had was cropped, and the face was brown in color. Of woodcraft well knew he all the usage. He knew all kind of woodcraft, all the usage. Upon his arm he bar a gay bracer. So, arm पे उन्होंने एक wrist guard होता है. He is also having that on his arm. And by his side a sword and a bouclier, and on the other side a gay dagger. He also has a shield and a sword. On one side, on the other side, he has a dagger. Oh my God. I don't know how many things he's carrying with him, as if he's not going on a pilgrimage, but on a fight. Harnessed well and sharp as point of spear. So whatever the sword, the dagger that he has, very sharp, as if it's a point of a spear. A Christopher on his breast of silver sheen. So a medal of Christopher, he's wearing that medal on his breast. And horn he bar, the baldric was of green. He also has a horn, and the strip that he's wearing is of green color. A forester was he, soothly as I guess. So by all of these things, Chaucer guesses that he is a forester. That is the yeoman. He wears green hood and coat. He takes care of his bow and peacock arrows. He has a cropped head and a brown face. He knows woodcraft. He wears a wrist guard. He carries a sword and a dagger. He wears a badge of Saint Christopher. He also carries a horn. The shoulder strap is of green color. Next is the prioress, the nun. There was also a nun, a prioress, that of her smiling was full simple and coy. So there was also a nun traveling with them, a prioress, and her smile that she gave was very simple and very nice. Her greatest oath was but by Saint Loy. So she was a religious person, and the greatest oath that she gave was to Saint Loy. And she was clept Madame Eglantine. Her name was Madame Eglantine. Full wheel she sung the service divine, and very devoutly she would sing the service, she would sing for the divine. Entuned in her nose, full seemly. The song that she would sing very nicely, it was all intoned in her nose in a very, very polite manner. And French she spoke full fair and fetishly. She also spoke French, but in a very, very elegant kind of a manner, in a very sophisticated kind of a manner, after the school of Stratford at Bow. Stratford is in London, so she spoke like that. For French of Paris was to her unknown. Not the French of Paris, but the French of Stratford. So basically she would make it up. होता है ना, जैसे कई लोग जानबूझ के इंग्लिश बोलते हैं तो वो एक्सेंट लेके आ जाते हैं थोड़ा. So probably Madame Eglantine also spoke French like that to show that she knew French. At meal, when you taught, was she withal. She knew how to eat really well. She was well mannered with her meals. She'll eat no morsel from her lips fall. एक दाना भी नहीं गिरने देती थी खाने का. She would not let a morsel also from her lips fall. Nay wet her fingers in sauce deep. हम लोग खाते हैं तो हाथ यहाँ तक तो गंदे हो जाते हैं कई बार अगर हम हाथ से खा रहे हैं. She would not let her fingers deep in the sauce. She would not let that happen. Well knew she carry a morsel and well keep. She knew how to carry a morsel. कैसे उठाना है. She knew it very well, and to eat. That no drop may fill upon her breast. Nothing would fall on her clothes. In courtesy was set full muchel her list. In the list of things that she would do well, manners was on the top. Her over lip wiped she so clean that in her cup there was no farthing seen of grease when she drunken had her draught. So she wiped her upper lip so clean that वो कई बार जैसे हम खाना पीते हैं, ग्लास से पानी पी रहे हैं तो ग्लास गंदा हो जाता है, especially when you're eating. She would not let that happen. She would wipe it so clean that there would not be a single sign of grease on her cup when she's drinking. Full seemly after her meek she wrought. Very sophisticatedly she would reach for her meals, and surely she was of great despot. So she had a good reputation, she had a good deportation. And full pleasant and amiable of port, and pained higher to counterfeit cheer of court, and been established of manner. She took full pain to copy the manners of the court. पूरा वो कॉपी करती थी कि कैसे मैं बस वो कोर्टली मैनर, पूरा सोफिस्टिकेटेड मैनर से सब कुछ करूं. So she would copy, imitate the manners of the court. She took pain to do that, and to be olden dignity of reverence, and she would be to be held as a dignified person, full of reverence. She would take pain to do that. But for to speak of her conscience, She was so charitable. Now, this was her attire, the kind of clothes, the kind of language she spoke, the kind of manners she had, what kind of conscience she had, mind. She was so charitable and so pietous. She would weep if that she saw a mouse caught in a trap, if it were did or bled. अगर एक mouse was caught in a trap, or if it were dead, or if it were bleeding, she would weep. She was very emotional in that manner. Of small hounds had she that she fed. She also had small hounds. She would feed them with roasted flesh or milk or some white bread. But sore wept she on if one of them were dead, and she would also cry if one of them were dead. Or if men smote it with a yard smart, डंडे से कोई मारेगा तब भी she would weep. She would not like it. And all was conscience and tender heart. She was full of these feelings, and she had a very tender heart. Full seemly her wimple pinched was. Now he's talking about her attire. So the nun was wearing this wimple is head cover, पूरा यहाँ तक cover करके. तो she was wearing this full seemly. It was pleated, he says. Her nose strides her even grey as glass, her eyes grey as glass. So her nose was good and her eyes were grey as glass. Her mouth full small and thereto soft and red. She had a small mouth and soft and red, but surely she had a fair forehead. माथा लगता है बड़ा था. Fair. It was almost a span broad, almost 9 inches broad, I believe, he says. For hardly she was not undergrown. Certainly she was not undergrown. Full fetis was her cloak, as I was aware. She wore a nice cloak. She had this. One second. Yes. So her cloak was very well made. Full fetis was her cloak, as I was aware. Of small coral a boot, her arms she bar. So she had this small coral से बनी हुई कुछ होता है ना वो beads. A pair of beads gauded with green. So green color के beads उसने आर्म पे वो पहने हुए थे. And thereon hang a brooch of gold full sheen. वहां से there was hanging a brooch of gold. It shone. It was full shining. On which there was first right a crowned A. So first that it was written on that brooch was a crowned A. And after that it was written Amor vincit omnia. Love conquers. It means love conquers all. So this is about the prioress. So the key points of prioress are her name was Madame Eglantine. She had very good manners. She spoke French. She was very emotional. She fed the hounds. She would cry if the mouse was caught in a trap or dead. She tried to imitate the courtly manners. She was very tender at heart, and she was wearing a headdress which was big, and she had grey colored eyes. She had a fair big forehead. She wore a coral on her arms, green color beads, brooch hanged out of it, on which it was written love conquers all. So this is the prioress. We have completed till now 180. One second, not 80. 162 lines. So I will stop this session here, and in the next session we'll start with the next pilgrim that Chaucer describes, that is the monk. Okay, so take care, have a good day, study well, and subscribe and like. the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other people that you know. Thank you. If any doubts, please ask me in the comment section and let me know your thoughts also.